from the very beginning. All right, fantastic. So I'm going to show you how to add time through the project view, which is most likely what you're going to be using most of the time. Talk a little bit about the quick add timer for maybe if someone just called you and you're just trying to straight up log time and later apply it, and then you wanted to go over the timesheet as well, right?
Yeah, just if there's the three easiest ways to add time.
Okay.
Make sure we cover.
We'll either talk about the timesheet, which is more after the fact, looking back on time, and then the task board, which is, okay, logging time right now. Do you want to jump into branding page or
Sure.
anything? Okay.
Yeah, let's go with the branding biomechanics one.
So what I would do is I would go into one of these different tasks and click add activity. And anytime you add an activity within Affinity Live, it's always recording time. So like we talked before, if it's just account management and it's on the client page, it's actually recording time as well. It's just not billable. But you can add activity here. And as we discussed, the note, it's more of that internal collaboration, communication around, okay, John, you need to follow up with this person, or this is what I did. This is the market research I did for 30 minutes.
Okay.
Email would be if I'm sending an email to Steve or anyone else on the biomechanics team. And you can also loop in different people within your organization and log in calls as well. And you can add a number and then say, okay, this call took 10 minutes.
Perfect.
So right here, I have a time going. So this would be most useful in an email or a call because I can just open this up and let the time run. But in an internal note, often what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I did research for about 30 minutes. And let's let John know about this because I did some research, and then the next steps is actually John taking over, so I can loop him in on this conversation.
Perfect.
Anything else you wanted to cover with actually logging activity from the project view?
No, I think that makes sense, and particularly the fact that we add a note and we describe what we did against whichever task we're working on. That's where we'll use it the most from within there. The only other thing I think was we can get to this screen from just a client window instead of being within a project.
Exactly.
And that's just for phone messages and all that sort of good stuff.
Exactly. So if I were to save this with the amount of time, 30 minutes, you're not going to show it, or it's not going to show up rather on here because we're not using billable time. But what you can see is then time and time usage. So now we've used a little bit more.
Okay. Actually, I don't think that changed. That was on 48 minutes before.
Yeah, it was. The reason is because it's actually assigned to John, but you, Bruce, did the work. So it doesn't allow you to do his work for him.
Fair enough.
So any other questions about logging activities on the project board?
No, I think it makes sense enough that we just need to start using it.
Okay. Yeah. Great. So number 2 is the quick add option, and this is personally most useful for when someone calls up. I just quickly add a timer, but you can add just as easily add an activity, that note, call, meeting, email, whatnot. But
yeah,
I'm going to add a timer, and I can actually just start it right now with even putting any information, or I can fill things in. So this is a call. I've already been on the phone for 5 minutes, and I can then put it against whatever I want. So I can put it against biomechanics quickly, or I can say, nope, I just want to start this call, and I can minimize it. And what's nice about the quick add is is someone calls, just quickly getting that timer up and running, and then you can also click through. So whereas on the view project, you have to add an activity and you have to actually record it right here. With this timer running in the background, you can move around Affinity Live, actually do the work, and just let this keep on timing.
Perfect. And so the only time that would automatically pause is if we started another one?
Exactly. So you can't log double work at the same time.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then once I hit complete, it's then going to pop up with an activity in which I can say this was a no, email, whatnot. And at this time, I would put it against something, meaning a client, or I can view all the work items and actually dig down to the actual project I'm working on, even dig down further to exactly what I was doing.
Okay. Okay, so no matter how you start that timer, you're going to end up in an activity window anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That's more or less the only way to log time in Affinity Line is through activities.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. The next one is the task board. This is useful for just individual team members not having to go in and see all of the chaos that's going on in the project and just focus on what they need to do at any given time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pull up what John needs to do. And it looks like he has actually a couple overdue items. So if you wanted to, you can actually pull the different tasks into today or tomorrow and really use this as a place to self-manage and not have to get confused with all the clutter of a project, not have to really just deal with everything else besides your own work.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was using the task board earlier today, actually. It's really easy to move around on. I cleared off a bunch of tasks for myself.
Good. And then as before, I was saying the only way to add time is through an activity. So if you want to actually add time against this, I would add an activity. And same as adding it on a project, same as adding it through the quick add timer. It's now asking what you did, how long, give a little description.
Perfect. Yeah, that ties it in much better. Ties it together for me.
Great. And what I particularly like about the task board is it's actually, if you move these tasks around, it's updating the live project on the back end. So it's not only useful for your different team members like John, but it's also useful because it's updating whoever's managing the project.
Yeah. So if you click add activity out of one of these tasks and then close down your computer, come back in the next morning and open it up and go into the project window, you're going to see the activity that you added from this board.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
So it's completely two-way sync. You can think of it in every way with due dates, the time you're logging, updating the status as well for where you are with the tasks. All gets updated.
Perfect.
So that's the task board. And then the last way to log time, and usually this is from a perspective of maybe is it Thursday or Friday and you're looking back on your week, because hopefully you're using the task board or the project view to log your live time. But timesheet's a good way to look back and see exactly what I've done and maybe make minor edits. So I'm going to go into last week and see all the time that we've logged against the different tasks, against different clients, as well as those external appointments that are pulling in.
That's right. Now, I was in this screen earlier, and I clicked on the little the blue email where it's recommending that I add the time from those 2 emails that I received or sent or whatever.
Right.
Is there a way to see which emails it's talking about? Because I clicked on it thinking that's what would happen, and it just automatically logged the time for me.
So
there you go.
After the fact of logging the time, then you get to see.
Okay.
And this is all linkable, so if you were to click on it, you would see the full conversation.
Perfect. So if, let's say I clicked yes, go ahead and log those, and then I opened it up through that link and said, I really didn't want to log that.
Mm-hmm.
is that just to go back in and delete it or change it to 0 or?
Yeah, I'll probably just zero it out.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's actually going to go back and suggest it again. It's a very
So it's
persistent
stubborn.
timesheet.
Yeah.
Yes,
Nice.
exactly.
Well, that's a good thing because otherwise we'll forget.
Right. So that's any other questions about the timesheet?
No, I don't. I see the utility of going in at the end of the week and updating stuff, but I don't see us using it at this point just because we do go by the project.
Okay.
I did want to ask a question again about the either scope creep or project management items on a project for logging time against emails or phone calls or stuff like that. I know that we discussed it, but it's still not 100% clear for me.
Sure. So let's actually go into this project right here. So let's say that, actually, this is going to be the best example if we go to the client view, because likely what's going to happen is you're going to be sending emails back and forth with the customer and not thinking that it needs to be attached to a project until maybe later on where you actually start reallocating.
Okay.
So what I would do is, since we already have this project management milestone, great. That means we can apply all these emails to the project management milestone.
Okay, so I don't need a task within the project management milestone.
No,
that's called
probably
emails.
not if you're just trying to record all the emails and all the calls. It just makes it easier. And maybe at one point, if you want to drill down into emails and calls and whatnot, then it might be useful to pull out the task. But right now, just having a big bucket will ensure that you're actually doing it and logging it, not having to click through every time.
Yeah, okay.
So let's say I just emailed him today. Hi, John. Thanks for the visit on Friday. And this is not just a general thing. This actually is related to a project. So what I would do is I would relocate this item to the project called branding. And then I can see all the milestones and tasks. And then I'm going to look at project management. So let's select that and I'll throw a save. Let's see if that's working. I've never relocated a conversation to a milestone, so let's see if it works. True. And it doesn't look like we actually have any time that's allocated to this task, unfortunately. So maybe we should find something with some time. That's the basic process. You would go into an activity, then you would assign it to a milestone or something like that.
And so I guess the idea is that if you do this with the first email that you send the client about the project, then the rest of the conversation should be automatically put against it.
Right, exactly. And it looks like it's one or two places that we can actually get that time in. One would be from the timesheet and actually go back and apply that time that's suggested. But number two would actually be sending emails from Affinity Live to then record that time and then have it pull over. Because it looks like these are actually just pulling in emails from your Gmail account, not necessarily from here.
Okay. So if we send it from Affinity Live, given that we have that sync set up with Gmail, does it sync over to our Gmail, or would all of our emails only be in Affinity Live?
It does. So it's going to show in your inbox or in your sent inbox wherever you want it to show up. And then all the communication thread on the Gmail side is going to exactly mirror this communication thread on this side.
Perfect. So there's really no reason to be sending from within Gmail.
Right. especially since you have now an inbox that has all your client communication already in it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's say we're in this project and John wanted to send an email to Steve thanking him for the visit on Friday or whatever. Would you do it from, I guess you do it from the project item, not from the client space?
Right. It would just be easier to do it from the project because then you can automatically have it. So if I were to go to project management, or I can just create a new email from here, it would save you a lot of time having to go back and reallocate it. I would just send emails straight from the source.
Okay. Perfect. And then theoretically, any response that he receives, does that automatically get logged, or can that only be logged from the timesheet?
It will automatically be logged because, well, the response, if it's in Gmail, it would have to be a timesheet item. But if it's in here, if you send an email, you can see that the time is automatically rolling. So all
Yep.
John's time will be accumulating if it's being responded to or sent from Infinity Live.
Yeah, so John sends this, and the timer goes up to 35 seconds or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
Then we receive a response from Steve. Is that one of those items that you see where there's a recommendation to log 5 minutes, or is that just based on emails that we send out?
It's only on emails that you are sending out or working on. It doesn't suggest time for when it comes from a certain person.
Okay, so if we receive an email from a client and we want to log the time that we're taking reading through their new requests or something like that, we would just fire up a new task or a new activity.
Exactly.
Okay. Because I've got one client in particular who is sending 1,000 emails a day, and they're usually about 16 pages long.
Okay.
So I'd like to log that time because he's trying to bankrupt me.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I understand how to do that for incoming emails anyway.
Great.
I think that's it. I think that covers all of my questions, at least enough to get going.
Okay. Fantastic. I am going to then